When you think of movies and fiction, you can pretty much imagine any scenario, right? You guys know that one movie by Jim Carrey, The Truman Show? That one there is a classic. And it also shows how someone from birth was monitored through cameras that he didn't even know existed. Now just think about that scenario and use it in the real world. What if cameras were placed in our homes and instead of having it televised to the world, the feed would instead be shown to the US government? Would you ever agree to that? Because believe it or not, some Americans said yes. Saying yes or no to that would depend on your trust in the government to do what's right with the footage, right? So let's play a game in the comments. If you would agree to allow the government to put cameras in your house to monitor your every action, just comment down below, yes, I trust the government. But if you don't, then comment, no, I don't trust the government. Now I'm just curious to see how different the numbers are going to look like in the comments. Alleged whistleblower David Grush is under scrutiny as he says that the US government has a few UFO spacecrafts here at home. But given that he's talking about this at a very particular time and political environment, it seems off for some people, especially those that think that this is nothing more than a psychological operation or a ruse to keep our minds off of other things that may be going on. A distraction, if you will. And since we're going to be talking about us being watched every second of the day, we should probably hear from whistleblower Edward Snowden as he has a huge warning for all of us, a warning that affects all Americans in all 50 states and supposedly involves big tech again. Shocker, huh? But I'm not going to waste a second more of your time. Let's get right into the facts. Also, for the very best way to invest in gold or silver, check out the links in the description down below this video, guys. Do you know what pops up on Google whenever you search for the term psyops? This comes up. I know it looks weird, but my browser is set to dark mode because I'm basically glued to my computer, but you know, look at that. Psychological Operations, United States. Wikipedia isn't the best source for anything, but it does say that psyops are operations to convey selected information and indicators to audiences to influence their motives and objective reasoning, and ultimately the behavior of governments, organizations, groups, and large foreign powers, end quote. Now, why the heck are you talking about this, Ron? Remember that whistleblower that's seemingly going on press tour after press tour talking about UFOs? I'm sorry, UAPs? It's hard to be called a whistleblower when you're going around town talking about it. Although I don't discredit the information, probably is true. There's actually a good chance that we do have spacecrafts in our possession. There's a good chance that they've been hiding this from the public for a long time now, but there's also a good chance that they're using it to put a smoke screen right in front of our eyes. Now you gotta wonder, we haven't heard anybody else speak out about this in this manner. So here's what whistleblower David Grush said about the possibility of anybody being hurt or killed by UFOs. You would think that their families would have come right out about this.
Have human beings been hurt or killed by a non-human intelligence?
While I can't get into the specifics because that would reveal certain U.S. classified operations, I was briefed by a few individuals on the program that there were malevolent events like that.
Let me get this straight. He's a whistleblower that doesn't want to get into the specifics of U.S. classified operations. That's a bit weird. But what's also weird is that the Department of Defense gave him the go signal to some extent. Look at this. The DoD, or the Department of Defense, said, quote, the interview questions are approved for public release, end quote. Although they did say that this doesn't mean that they're endorsing what Grush is saying, but I hate to be so critical of this. But why is he being allowed to even talk about this? He's not being silenced at all. Again, I'm not saying that what he's saying isn't true, or at least have a semblance of truth to it. But hey, what do you guys think? Is this a psy operation, or is he trying to share the truth to us? On the topic of our government, would you ever want them to install a camera in your home? You guys know that TV show called Big Brother, right? How would you like to have the same feeling as the people in that show? The only difference is that Big Brother will be the United States government. Are you down for that? You won't believe this, but some people have actually agreed to it, the same way that they agreed to the CBDC.
Nearly a third of Gen Z, those born between the years 1997 and 2012, say they're not only fine with, but actually support the government installing surveillance cameras into your homes. Now, obviously, the George Orwell 1984 comparisons are super overdone at this point, but that is literally how the book goes. From censored speech to people being made to believe the opposite of what they thought was true only yesterday, to kids being propagandized to turn against their parents, to now having cameras inside your home through which the government can keep an eye on you. Word for word, plot point for plot point, we are reading Orwell's warning against totalitarian states as if it was a how-to manual on what to do instead of what not to do. Now, as for the poll, it was conducted by the Cato Institute, sampling over 2,000 Americans. The way the question was phrased is that respondents were asked, if the government installing surveillance cameras in every household to reduce domestic violence, abuse, and other illegal activity was something they would support or not.
Now, I can't believe how people can actually say yes to this. So this survey came from the Cato Institute, and they asked 2,000 Americans what they thought of government surveillance. Not the ones that we have now, but cameras that can be placed inside our homes. The reasoning is that it aims to reduce domestic violence, abuse, and other illegal activity. Here's what they found. As expected, a lot of people don't want it. But as you can see here, a whopping 14% of respondents said yes. Now, in my head, I'm just thinking that there's a chance that some of these people are suffering from abuse at home, and of course, that's unacceptable. But is this the best solution for that? And what if we don't have that in our homes? What happens then? Will they install cameras just to observe what we do in our homes? It's also important to give you guys the next bit of information. Now, as we can see here, the younger generation leads the way with agreeing with this idea. Now, I want to be very, very clear. I am in no way disregarding that violence at home happens. But do any of you think that this is what they'll actually be solving? Because half of the people who want to have this done, they also want to have a CBDC, another way that we could be tracked and followed. Now, the scary part is that the younger generation will soon represent the entirety of our country. As more of the older people die off, the younger people will remain, meaning that we may see a United States of America filled with cameras and surveillance technology inside our homes. It would even give them unimaginable power and control. I mean, speaking of surveillance, you guys remember Edward Snowden, right? The guy who in 2013, he exposed programs that are meant to keep an eye on people around the world. Well, he's now saying that 2013 is nothing compared to what they're capable of now. He said this: technology has grown to be enormously influential. If we think about what we saw in 2013 and the capability of governments today, 2013 seems like child's play. We trusted the government not to screw us, but they did. We trusted the tech companies not to take advantage of us, but they did. That is going to happen again because that is the nature of power, end quote. Do you guys think that he makes sense with this assessment? And he talked about trust in our government, right? Now, would you look at that? Public trust in our government is nearing historic lows. Now, just last year, surveys showed that only 2 out of 10 Americans trust the government to do what's right for us. Do you belong to that demographic? Do you trust your government? Make sure to let me know in the comments down below. It's also becoming tougher to trust our wallets. I mean, I think I brought enough cash for groceries and then suddenly I got to whip out my credit card because prices went up. Has that ever happened to you guys? But of course, I'm thankful that I can still afford it, even with the way that things are these days. I guess it helps to have better cash flow, especially as I've learned a lot about side hustles and home-based businesses, small businesses, basically generating multiple streams of income. I'm also blessed to have an understanding of wise investments. I understand investments in real estate, the stock market, and of course, investments in precious metals like gold and silver. But blessings should not be kept to one person or one household. I think that we should all benefit from these opportunities. Now, if you guys want to learn more about all these and more, then definitely hit me up in the comment section down below. Or if you want to take it to the next level, you can join us over in our Patreon. There's a link to the Patreon community in the description down below. Now, before I go, guys, please, you know what to do. Leave a like, share this video to everyone you know, and subscribe for your daily dose of the truth. You guys are awesome. I really appreciate you, and I will catch you on the next video.